I had to have a bit of a laugh at this comment made by Caitlin Johnson at Katos on X. Follow her if you don't already. She said very simply and without any explanation, "That was a close one. America almost had two presidential candidates with no brain." Wherever you are, welcome to another of my takes, and this time I'm not going to be talking much about China, but how one presidential candidate has literally dodged a bullet, and figuratively speaking, perhaps that missed bullet means that the USA has also dodged one too. Before we start, please do me a favor and check your subscription button. Once again, I am losing as many subscribers in a day as I'm getting. And I know for a fact because people are telling me that YouTube is doing all the work here. They're unsubscribing you without telling you. Back to the story. Unless this assassination attempt on Trump is exposed as a fake, which I don't think it is, it's a safe bet that he's just won the election with his own Iwo Jima moment. As Andy Borum pointed out, his showmanship is second to none. Apparently he came up shouting, "Fight! Fight!" I suspect it was another word starting with, but that shouting we'll never know because the mic had been turned off by then, I think. Either way, it was a moment that will be long remembered as historic, iconic even, one which will almost certainly see him collect a huge amount of bravery votes, in the same way that Taiwan's Chen Shui-bian in 2004 was elected the day after an assassination attempt on him. That one was never proven to be faked, but many people believed it was. And I wonder how many people in the US will now believe this was a faked attempt. We'll see. If the FBI, who have no love for Trump, starts an investigation, they might start with that in mind and never get to the bottom of it. As Brian Beletic pointed out, though, there are precedents where the FBI might very well have set up the entire event, but slipped up and allowed it to go too far. If the Secret Service starts an investigation, it ought to be into how they allowed a rooftop in clear line of sight within sniper range of potentially the next president of the United States without having it cleared and secured. We might very well have another JFK here, where we spend the next 70 years or so speculating on what might or might not have happened. One thing is certain, though, there will be plenty of theories online and in social media over the coming days, weeks, months, maybe even years. There is no way this should have been allowed to happen. Someone somewhere didn't do their job. Or perhaps, without being too conspiratorial about it, someone somewhere did do their job, but the execution of the plan, if I might use that word in a different sense, went badly wrong. Now, let's go back to the original comment that started me thinking about this. And whilst I think it's actually one of Caitlin's most funniest comments, that she's put a lot of good stuff on her social media, it's also a very sad one. Not that I feel sad for Biden. I know it makes no difference whatsoever to the election what I think of him, so I'll just come right out and say it. If I was a US citizen, there's no way in the world I'd vote for him. But, just to provide a sense of balance, if I was a US citizen, there's no way I'd vote for Trump either. Nor would I have voted for Hillary, Bernie, or any other of the candidates who have thrown their hats into the ring in the last, more than 10 years. I might have voted for Obama when he first got in because he was fresh-faced and new, but then after 4 years I probably would have regretted that and not bothered again. There's not a single candidate that I've seen in US politics that can stop the rot that is eating the US from inside. The US system, not the people who live there, is rotten to the core, and I wouldn't participate in their form of democracy. Anyway, back to Biden. Here's why I feel sad. Can you imagine what would happen to you if you went to an old people's home and you took out your senile grandfather, but then instead of taking him for a drive to the beach or a shopping centre, as you told the care home that you would do, you went to a comedy club? You put him on stage. His confusion would be a source of great amusement. He would look for the way off the stage. He would answer questions with nonsensical answers, sometimes stuttering, sometimes mixing up his words. He'd be confused about who was his friend and who were his rivals, and many people would be laughing at him. He might have some trouble walking too, and because this is a comedy club, no one would realize that this wasn't a joke, but would think it was hilarious, all part of an incredibly funny act. But it isn't funny. It's very serious. And if I saw you doing that, I'd call the police. I'd report what I was saying. And what would happen? Well, I'd have to hope the police would come. They would investigate. They'd charge you with elder abuse and ensure that there was some court restriction stopping you from ever going near your grandfather again without supervision. Unfortunately, that's exactly what we've got going on right now. An old, senile man who ought to be in care is being wheeled out to make mistake after mistake in front of the world's cameras. And here's the really strange thing, since I'm doing Jerry's take on China, I'll finish this by telling you something about China that I think might surprise you. Chinese people aren't laughing at him. They don't see the funny side of it. They see a situation where an old man is being abused and not respected. They can't fathom what's going on. And then they see another old man with all kinds of convictions and a sordid history, and they know both of these old men. Many of the people supporting them have a problem with China. They don't know why. People in China really don't care who wins the US election. It's not going to make a jot of difference to 1.4 billion people here, nor the 4 billion people who are part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. It's as simple as Caitlin says. As far as China are concerned anyway, the US already has 2 presidential candidates without a brain between them. That's my take on this. Thanks once again for watching Jerry's Take on China, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.